Welcome to Season 14, Episode 11 of the Young Hearts Run Free podcast. Tonight, Stevie Boy is not with us. It is I, John Cassidy, and Caroline McKay, our guest, who is going to be, we're going to be chatting for the next hour and a bit. We're going to call it a bit because it might go on a wee bit longer than that. But, Caroline McKay, how are you this evening?
I'm very well. Nice to see you, John. Good to be in the
Oh,
podcast. I've just
thank
been
you.
digging into it recently, so it's been I can't believe I've not listened to it till this year because you've been going for a good, what is it, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, 4 or 5. Yeah, 2020 we started, so there's quite a healthy back catalogue. Maybe the earlier stuff, maybe jump to season two. But I think the earlier stuff was just us getting started. But yeah, there's lots of good stuff in there. So thank you for listening in. So thank you very much for doing that. To get us started, because this is your space tonight, Caroline, a double question. What sparked your interest in running to start with? And have you always been a runner?
There's probably a long or a short version to this.
Go long, go
So I'll
long.
go long. So I'll go long, yeah. So basically, no, I've not always been a runner. I actually hated running, like probably a lot of people that get into it later in life. I hated running at school. Um, And probably like a bit of context is useful here because I grew up in the Isle of Mull until I was about 17 when I moved to Manchester. But I grew up with a very outdoors lifestyle. So I grew up to two parents who were marine biologists and had a shellfish farm on Mull. And so it was actually a very, like, they were both incredibly hard workers. Um, Especially my mum, who, started the farm herself. And after my dad left the island, they broke up. My dad left. She continued it on her own. She was like super hardy to the point of like being out, working a lot of hours. So we were often like, wasn't like today's parenting when you're, taxiing your kids around different organized activities. We were just helping out in the shellfish farm every weekend, or most weekends, I'd say, getting looked after by loads of different people through the week. But I grew up basically living a very outdoors life. But where I say the context is helpful is that there was this big kind of messy split, had a really happy kind of first few years in life. And then we had quite a traumatic split in the family with my dad leaving. Um, my brother and I would then travel a lot. So he was based in Dumfries, my dad, and we would travel down there every other week. Um, then he moved to Cheshire. It's so we were traveling a lot up and down from the west coast down to um, D&G and then Northern England. And um, I didn't run at all, even though we were outdoors all the time. And I was also, as I grew older, super close to my mum, who, as I was saying, was a really strong woman. Um, she was just a bit of an outlier for her time in kind of managing a very challenging business that never made a lot of money and also doing a ton of other jobs on the side. Like she was a board member of Scottish Natural Heritage and a yoga teacher and loads of little sidelines she had. So really inspiring in terms of a work ethic. So I think that has completely stayed in my blood, and maybe it's conditioning, I don't know, nature, nurture. Um, but it's definitely stayed with me, that ethic of watching her and how hard she worked for things. And then I left Mull. It's really ironic because I grew up in this quite healthy environment, and but I was a really rebellious teen. All I wanted to do was I got really into dance music. All I wanted to do was move to a city. I wanted to become a DJ and I wanted to work in fashion as well, which is so ironic. I laugh about it now because it's like it couldn't be more opposite to what I'm doing in life now. Um, but I'm telling you all this because when I moved to Manchester. I chose to move to Manchester when I was 17. I got my hires and moved down to art college and then university there. And I just went down a really disruptive path. And it was happening around the same time as my mum was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer when I think I was 19 when she was diagnosed. So I just started uni and everything, and I was hoping my dad doesn't listen to this, but I was doing a lot of substances. I was like very close to a life of addiction, I think. I was drinking a lot. I was also like really addicted to cigarettes. A big smoker. cigarettes became a real association with everything else I was doing as well. So it all went hand in hand. I was kind of pulling all-nighters. I started working in a club, um, and all of that was happening. And I just knew, when mum was ill, it kind of got worse and worse because it was my escapism, I guess. And then she died. She died about 2 years after she was diagnosed, which, even though we knew she was stage 4 when she got diagnosed, you'd think you would be prepared, but I think it's very difficult to prepare yourself for something like that when you lose your kind of, the biggest person in your life. Um, and when she got diagnosed, when I was around 19, before she got diagnosed, she was actually training for her first race for life. I think it was a race for life because they came in around the early 2000s and she died in '05. So she was actually training for a 5K, and that was the thing that kind of stuck with me after she died. And I don't even think it was like a conscious decision, but I just started running. It was like I knew I had to kick this other destructive path I was on. It was not serving me at all. I kind of knew that, even though I continued doing it for, I don't know, for 6 years or so. I stayed in Manchester after uni for a few years and took a while to kind of give up all of those things. Um, but I started running, and that is what really helped me stop smoking to begin with. And then, you know what it's like as you get more into running, your lifestyle just shifts, doesn't it? And
Mm.
so I started just getting myself back on track, really. And then the biggest milestone, I think, for just becoming a much healthier person mentally and physically was moving back to Scotland. And that was just such a good decision for me. I knew I actually wanted to move to Glasgow. So I was trying to get a job in Glasgow, and it just so happened the one I got was in Edinburgh. So I moved back to Edinburgh. I got a job after a bit of travel overseas to get some volunteer work on my CV. I got a job. I decided fashion work wasn't for me. Didn't want to work in the corporate sector. Didn't want to do any of that. Um, I wanted to go and work for environmental charities. So I travelled around the world and got some volunteer work on my CV, and then got a job working for an environmental charity. And it was a friend in an environmental charity who told me about the Highland Fling race, and I was just like, what? Who runs 53 miles? But it was just a seed that was planted, and then I think all that kind of conditioning from my childhood kind of came back. Um, and I just, yeah, I went headfirst into it all, kind of total compulsive addictive personality that I've got. I just threw myself into it, and then it became basically the only hobby I had for quite a number of years. Um, but yeah, it's been an amazing change. I've made some of my best friends through running who, even though I've had like 5, 6 years out of ultra running, they still are some of my best friends that I stay really close to. And it's just been, I've never looked back. It's been such an incredible community to get into. That was definitely the long version.
I'm delighted we went along. I really am delighted, and thank you for sharing such personal background and openly talking about your mum as well. I'm just taking from that your mum was a very inspirational character, person central to your core of your life. In 2005, 20 years ago, but I get the vibe that she's still at the core of you as well. Is that
Yeah,
correct? Yeah,
totally. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And I don't think it matters like what age you lose your mum at. Like if you're close to your mum to begin with, it's always going to be really, really hard. And I was lucky I did have her for my childhood, we did lose her a
mm,
lot earlier than we thought we would. And her, yeah, I won't go into it, but her death itself it was a really traumatic experience in itself. For me, it
yeah,
was a very extended experience. I had no idea that's what a cancer death was like, and
yeah.
it just hit me. And it never leaves you. Like it's with you every single day. And people say, time heals, but it doesn't really heal when you lose someone like that. You
Mm.
just kind of adapt to it. You adapt and you kind of shapeshift to it, I think. Yeah.
We'll
And
come on to the six
yeah.
year break. We'll come on to the 6 year break, okay? But that also is, I suspect, going to be a legacy of your mum's too. That will, so we'll run that theme. Have
Mm.
you ever done a race for life?
I think I have done one back in the day. Yeah. I think I did
Hmm.
one when I was first getting into running. I think potentially that's the first race I did actually.
Yeah.
I don't remember too much about it. I know that the first non-ultra I did over and above that, like the first longer run I did was the Aviemore Half,
Right.
um,
Okay.
which what I just thought about my mum the whole way through that race and burst into tears at the end, and it was just so emotional. And it's funny how like relative running can be. It's like that was a huge challenge for me at the time. And now you think, oh, 100K is a huge challenge, and people say, oh, I've only done a half marathon. But no, that is a big challenge for you if that's your first race or you're building up to that, that's cool.
Yeah, it's all relevant. And I
Mm.
love the fact as well, lots of runners are into dance music. Lots of runners pulled all-nighters, but now all-nighters have changed. All-nighters now are us running through the night or moving through the night, isn't it? So,
Totally.
but maybe that's practice to do with sleep deprivation. Who knows what that
I
happened,
know.
what happens in your teens, early 20s,
Yeah.
whatever, So, um, your mum is obviously an inspiration to you. You've spoke about that. What about though? Is there any runners or athletes that you became aware of, either local or on the world stage, that have inspired you, given you that I want to be that person?
Are we talking like back in the day when I got into running?
You choose whenever.
Um, so yeah, I think what helped really fuel that interest in me, as well as like getting to know friends who were taking on these races in Scotland and elsewhere, was listening to podcasts. So I got massively into podcasts in, like, I don't know, 2011, 2012. And I started listening to all sorts of running podcasts like Trail Runner Nation, which I still listen to actually sometimes, and Ultra Runner Podcast, Talk Ultra, all these ones that have been going for years. And you do get introduced to a whole load of different global races around the world, and it definitely kind of like plants more seeds. So yeah, I heard about, like, I don't know, I suppose back in the day when I was getting into ultras, it would have been people like Ellie Greenwood, who at the
Mm.
time where she was kind of winning Western States and running incredible 100 milers. And I remember feeling like, oh my God, she grew up in Scotland, and that kind of connection, and just feeling like it's really empowering as a woman, feeling like other women are doing these things, so it's possible for me too. Like, it doesn't matter what else you do in life, but if you train hard and if you kind of really apply yourself, you can kind of have these exciting goals. And I think coming from the background I just described of the stuff I was doing in Manchester, I think, like, I've definitely, it's like, I know that I'm a real thrill seeker and I need to really watch that side of myself. Like, I'm a really impulsive person. I'm a bit ADHD. And I need to really watch that. But it's like, if I apply that to races, then that's okay. That's a
Yeah,
healthy way to deal with it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So
So,
yeah.
Children Our Nation is probably my favourite podcast that
Is
I
it?
listen to. Yeah, yeah. I probably happened across podcasts probably around about 2015 actually. Probably about 2015 I started listening, and I'd heard of Western States, but that gave me a whole new information that I had never knew about Western States. Because when they bring on Andy Jones Wilkins as well, he's like a walking, talking knowledge bank for Western States,
Yeah.
So I love that, and I love when they theme it around Western States too. And also, you're right, they cover a whole range of subjects from nutrition, hydration, and I always learn something. So yeah, we'll put a plug in the show notes for Trail Runner Nation. So thank you for mentioning that. You mentioned Ellie Greenwood as well, fantastic runner and sheer inspirational to a lot of not just women, to people, to runners. And I
Yeah.
know, can we speak about your podcast actually? Can we speak about
Yeah.
Of Mountains and Minds was another podcast that I really enjoyed and I liked. I liked the mental health side of it, and another person that you'd spoken about was Jasmine Paris. So you find that Jasmine's an inspiration. Do you want to
Mhm.
say a wee bit about Jasmine? I'll speak about Jasmine Paris all day if you want to. But do you want to say a wee bit about Jasmine?
Yeah, I was really lucky to be able to interview her. I don't really subscribe to hero worshipping people. I just think everyone's a person, no matter
Yeah,
how fast they run a 100 miler. Like, obviously we do look up to these people when we're interested in the sport, but I don't really get that side of it in terms of kind of bowing down to people. I do. I do think she's absolutely incredible, and I think she's got a few really special qualities. Like, she's not really on social media much, is she? She's not kind of promoting herself. She's
Mm,
just so down to earth, and she is just who she is. She's living like a relatively quiet life, but she's doing these absolutely incredible kind of, record-breaking things and running. And so she's
mm.
just like, yeah, quite a unique personality as well. But also really easy to talk to. You guys all know because you've obviously talked to her as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. No,
and
you're right.
and
Sorry, on you go.
I was just gonna say quickly, like I think being a mum myself now, I think I definitely relate. Like, I definitely view what she's achieved in an even different, like, more incredible light now. Now that I'm a mum, because I know how hard it is when you've got two little ones, and for her to go
Mm,
out, like she says, she goes out early every morning, pretty much, and obviously she's got a super supportive husband as well. But for her to achieve that and have two kids the age of her kids is like pretty impressive.
mm. Yeah, definitely. 100% agree with that.
Mm.
Let's talk about being a mum. Can we do that now? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
Because this is the 6 year gap we were alluding to earlier. So we can top and tail the gap, but let's talk about the gap. Let's talk about having kids, and then let's talk about coming back to running because it will have affected the majority of our probably of our listeners who if they're female and if they have children, they will all have experienced what we're just about to speak about. So
Hmm.
tell us about your experience.
Yeah. So yeah, I knew I wanted to have kids back, like obviously like 2018, 2019 when I was running my last big ultras. So I'm trying to remember the last race I did. I DNF'd UTMB. I started that for the third time in 2019. I think that might have been the last one. I might have done a shorter one after. But I knew like what I wanted to do next was have or try and have kids. You never know if you can't have
Mhm, mhm,
them. And yeah, I was really lucky. It was really easy. And I think the thing is, when you talk to people as a woman about having kids before you have kids, and then you reflect back on that after you've had kids, you're like, why didn't anyone tell me it was so hard? But people just don't like. Like it's also amazing, but it's like I've never done anything in my life, ultras included, that's got so many severe extremes in it. You
Yeah.
can go from like, oh, just like losing your mind one day to like experiencing so much joy with your little ones the next day. It's just like there's such a roller coaster. And the thing about it is when I was having those conversations before becoming a mum or before getting pregnant, like you do a lot of prep about the pregnancy and everyone wants to talk about the pregnancy and the birth as well, but then it's the longer term relentlessness of the experience that is not really talked about. And also, I suppose it's getting talked about more now, but just the impact on your body, because I suppose it's different for everyone. And, some people, I don't have the experience of having had a C-section. I had two natural births, but I don't know. I'm sure that's got its own challenges too, but it's certainly from the births I had two babies quite close together, like within 2 years. And I just was totally unprepared on like about the impact it would have on my body in terms of running, in terms of
Mhm.
like pelvic floor, just being blown to pieces basically. By I won't. This is going to get too TMI, John. I
No,
won't
no, no, what?
fill you in on the full details, but like I had,
There'll be some people saying, give us the details, and
yeah.
we didn't shy away from anything. So,
Well, yeah. So basically, with my son, I had a really traumatic birth where I was trying to give birth naturally at home in a pool, um, and he just wasn't coming, and it turned out he was just in a really bad position, and I was just like, it's like being in an ultra for 3 nights without sleep. I didn't have one wink of sleep for 3 nights. It was just brutal. Went to hospital. I was absolutely losing my mind with pain by that point because I hadn't taken anything. And then it was like extreme to extreme, totally natural. And then I just said yes to everything. And they gave me like loads of drugs because they said that's basically the only way he's going to come out. He's pretty stuck. I was quite lucky not to have a C-section actually.
Mm.
But then they gave me a completely unwanted episiotomy, which is like a cut to get him out, and it was in a really bad position, and it basically wrecked my pelvic floor.
Right.
And then obviously had another baby after my son. So I've got a little girl who's 2.5 now, and planned for another natural birth, really wanted to make it happen, knew I only wanted two kids. And I was really, really fortunate to have that experience, had an amazing birth experience with her. But I think having them so close together, it was a big impact on the body in terms of like pelvic floor. And then the other thing that I've had is just a recurring adductor injury, which is I'm pretty sure it's due to my pelvis having moved with maybe pregnancy or birth or both.
Mm.
I don't know if it's connected to it's definitely in that area. So it's kind of like a groin strain, but I had it really badly and it just kept coming back, kept coming back. And I've never had that before. So I think something's shifted and I've really had to work on rehab. But I would say like there's so many silver linings to these things because try and look on the positive side, like, yeah, it's been really hard to come back. It's been really hard to run distance because of my pelvic floor, but I'm just determined to make it work. I'm doing a lot of rehab stuff now. I'm doing a hell of a lot more strength training than I ever have. And I'm also doing rehab exercises for the adductor. And so it's like a silver lining of kind of forcing me into doing this mobility and conditioning and strength training, which I hope is going to make me a stronger runner as well. So yeah, it's just been a lot of kind of work to do as well as the running, which is really hard to fit in around being a mum.
Yeah, yeah. So, can I ask my first silly question? Yeah.
Go for it.
Was there any running in between your son and your daughter being born?
Yeah, I did try and run, but I just couldn't run that far at all. And
Okay.
I actually always thought I was going to be the type of mum that could run through my pregnancies, just having been such a runner beforehand and having done so much. You just have these expectations, and I think it's just good
Mm.
to not have expectations with any pregnancy, I think, which is hard to do. But I did expect to run and I just was so sick. I could not like stomach the idea of going for a run with both pregnancies up until about 20 weeks. And by that
Mhm.
point, I had got to the point where I was like, well, I can't start running now because I was quite anxious and I loved my pregnancies actually. I had really happy ones, but I also felt quite anxious about starting doing something
Yeah.
that I hadn't done for so long by that point.
Mm.
And I just then settled into it and did hill walks and still got my exercise and just tried to settle and just accept I was going to lose a hell of a lot of fitness. And then yeah,
And
so in between babies, I had, I don't know, a year of not being pregnant, I guess. So I did try and get back to running. I did a few, but wasn't anything approaching long. It was like 3 miles or something, and even that
okay,
was a struggle. So I just knew, have the next baby and like have her family and everything, and then like focus on the rehab after that.
okay. Again, thank you for sharing such personal background. There will be women listening in, I am sure, going, yeah, that's me. That
Yeah.
was me. And maybe some women listen in who are planning to have children, thinking, well, this is a wee heads up as well. So
Yeah.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can you paint a picture of Caroline McKay, the runner, before having babies? Were you a competitive runner?
Yeah, tried to be.
Yeah, yeah.
I had mixed results, but no, I was competitive, and I've got some results that I'm really proud of. They're not necessarily the ones that I was like placed highest, but I felt like I really, really built up a really resilient like mindset by the end of it.
Hmm. Would you mind, if you don't mind, blowing your own trumpet and telling us about these races?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Um, God, I'm really bad at like reeling off when I did things because I get them all mixed up. But I mean, my first ultras, I just went straight into kind of the West Highland Way circuit because of finding out about the Highland Fling. So, actually, I think my first ultra was the D33, not the Fling. But then I did the Fling, the West Highland Way, the Devil in quite short succession. Um, so I've run the Devil 3 times. The Fling, I don't actually know, maybe another 3 times. The West Highland Way, I've done a couple of times in the race, and I've done one winter West Highland Way as well, which was
Mhm.
just a personal challenge with friends. Um, and UTMB, I've started 3 times and finished twice.
Right.
You can't
So,
take that race for granted, that's for sure. But I think the ones I'm proudest of, I don't want to be a UTMB wanker, but it probably is a UTMB because I had to really work at getting a good result there for me. And I knew when I did it in 2015, like, I'm sorry if Johnny Campbell's listening, I blame you for this. Possibly you thought it was good advice at the time, but he told me not to take polls,
okay.
which I would never recommend that to anyone after doing UTMB. But I did it in 2015 without polls. Um, and I finished it in like 34 hours something, I think. Um, and it was a big achievement to finish it. It's like not a given at all. It's got quite a high dropout rate. You just
Yeah.
never know what weather you're going to get. It was really hot. I had a really messed up stomach that year for like the first marathon, like straight from the starting gun, my stomach was off, which was not great. But then I did it again. Actually took a 2016. I did a lot of mountaineering stuff. We we summited Mont Blanc and did quite a lot of mountaineering. And I think that really helped me just get more elevation in me
Yeah.
and just build up more resilience as well. And spent a lot of time in the Alps and I was doing quite a bit of ski touring stuff. And then by 2017, when I started the UTMB for a second time, I think I was just in the kind of condition of my life then, like looking back now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never think it at the time, do you? You think, oh, I could do better, but we're so hard on ourselves. But looking back now, I was in really, really fit condition. Um, and I think I finished in 2017 and 31 something, 31:40 maybe. But I
Hmm.
finished 20th female, I think I was. So I was really chuffed with that.
Which is very high in the field. Very high in the field for UTMB. So that's brilliant.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
every year, like that race, just the level goes up and up in terms of what's
Mm.
achieved. I think the top 20 this year was like under 30 hours. So yeah, it's pretty incredible. And that year, actually, do you know what I think really stood in my favor that year was being a Scot and not being like super skinny as well, because there were a lot of elite Americans and from other kind of warmer countries, elite women dropping out because it was snowing on the summits. It was really cold. People were like really cold, but it didn't seem to bother me that much. Like it's just
Mm.
like running on a winter's day in Scotland. I mean, it obviously was hard, but I didn't get too cold or anything. So I think that
Brilliant.
helped. That was kind
Yeah.
of conditions playing into my favor.
Yeah. So, pre-babies, there's been a lot of running happening. It's been brilliant. And am I right in saying that in 2016, you were the first ever woman to complete the West Highland Way in the midwinter?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. I think so. I don't Lucy Calhoun did one as well, but I'm not sure if it was a winter. Yeah, to be honest, we didn't know. But people were
Okay.
saying that, and I was like, I don't know, so I'll take
Okay.
it. Yeah, it was. We'd planned to do it in under 24 and it didn't happen because Jamie Irons and I got horrendously lost in some forestry rerouting just straight out the
Ah,
gate over
yeah.
the Larigmore, just before that, the section between Fort William and Larigmore.
Yeah.
Oh, it was an
Yeah.
absolute
Which
shit
is all
show.
changed now. Totally changed now.
Yeah.
Totally changed now. So, but you were running that for charity, educational charity. Is that, do you want to say a wee bit
Yeah.
about the work?
Yeah. So I think I was doing that for Link, well, they're now called Link Education. It was actually a charity I was working for at the time. So they promote, well, they support girls getting an education in sub-Saharan Africa. Um, so
Okay.
at the time I was working for them and doing like a bit of community fundraising on the side, just using running for good, trying to kind of
Yeah.
use my run challenges to kind of raise a bit of extra for them because they at the time didn't really have much profile. It's not a charity many people know of, but they do really great work out in Africa. So yeah, that was
Yeah.
what it was for.
And it's brilliant that we can raise awareness and raise funds for these things by doing these ultra adventures. Because you often get as well, or you get asked if you're doing an ultra thing, what are you doing that for? And sometimes when you say I'm just doing it for me, people think you're actually madder than you actually are. Because a lot of people do this for a reason to generate awareness for something. So yeah, brilliant.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
I want to bring you, and my question now is, you've got a history with ultra running in California. Speak to us
Mhm.
about Caroline McKay in California.
Oh, I know it's just become a bit of a like, oh, I love Northern California. I don't so much know like Southern California, LA, but like Northern California, I just totally fell in love with actually because I was at uni in Manchester with a Californian girl who became a good friend. She was from Sacramento, so I went out and stayed with her a few times. Actually, on the end of that round the world trip that I went on pre-work, I finished up in California and we did some really cool traveling there together. And so yeah, she kind of introduced me to how amazing, the landscape is, and you've got the mountains, you've got Lake Tahoe, which is just absolutely stunning. Um, Went out there in the winter to do some ski touring as well. And in fact, I'm just remembering about this now. The first ultra experience I had in California in 2012 was another long story, I'm afraid, but an absolute shit show of an experience because I actually signed up to help a guy who was attempting to run a transcontinental, like record-breaking run across the US.
Mhm.
So he was trying to run. I met him at he was just a friend who I didn't know before I went to this adventure film festival and we got talking. And he was talking about how much he was struggling for sponsorship to do this run. And I'm not going to name his name because, well, you'll find out after I tell the story. But, but he'd already broken a record for rowing an ocean. And so he had that kind of CV behind him. So very naively, I just thought, oh, he can totally do this, or he can take it on, or give it a good shot, even if he doesn't finish. Didn't know him from Adam, and I signed up to help him initially because I was in like funding development. I signed up to try and help him get some sponsorship, um, and I was so impulsive. I just ended up saying, "I'll come out and support run for you. I'll do it." And like by that time, we'd found a few sponsors. We'd found this brand, this American brand, who said they would support him and they would give him a crew car, which is what he was really looking for. So I went out for about, I think it was about 10 days to support this guy. Obviously, I wasn't going to try and do the whole thing with him. I was just going to do like the first week. And it was just an absolute mess from day one. It turned out he hadn't been training for it. He he was smoking, like heavily smoking, which I didn't realize before like joining him. Um, the crew backup was these two guys that the running, like the sponsor just found in San Francisco who wanted to like move to the other side of the US. So they had a car full of stuff that he couldn't sleep in. He thought he was getting full backup like an RV or something. And it was just an absolute mess. But it was like looking back now, it's a really funny story because we ran for about 3 days and he was like stopping for fag breaks and stuff. Um, and the two support guys who were lovely guys, I got like quite close to them and we became friends. And one of them had a conversation with the sponsor who wasn't there day to day, so didn't know what was going on, and like told them like he doesn't really have his nav down. He doesn't really know, like he's not able to do that. He's not reached the planned distance for any one of the days we've done so far, and I don't think he's fit to run. And it was a really difficult at the time. It was quite a difficult, sticky situation because the sponsor then pulled his sponsorship, and the sponsor came to pick me and the support guys up, leaving this guy who was trying to run across the states on his own. Um, my friend who lived out in California then pitched in and went to support him, and they're now married. So it's like a soap. Um, but I went back with a sponsor. I didn't really know what to do because I was like, I can't keep going with him because he's, I was nearly done as well. Like we've been trying to run like he was aiming to run 54 miles a day, which would have like broken the record, I think. I think it might have been even more than that. I was totally done after 3 days, and the sponsor took us back to his like headquarters, took us into a room with a lawyer, had us on, I think it was either he was recording us or on camera or something, and had us sign some kind of NDA. I think he was worried about being like sued or something. I don't know what it was,
Mm.
but it was this whole situation where I was like, what have I done with this? And the runner who was like attempting to break the record, he didn't really forgive us for that. So that was what introduced me to ultra. ultra running and making an attempt to run across the states. So unfortunately, he
Wow.
still doesn't speak to me. And, yeah, it's it was a difficult situation.
It sounds like
Um,
some sort of Netflix or Amazon Prime thing that would happen. You tell this
yeah,
story. Wild.
yeah, I
Absolutely
know.
wild.
It was really
Yeah.
crazy, and it was a lesson to me. Just, I mean, he was a nice guy, but he just wasn't really up for this challenge. I don't know what he was thinking.
Mm.
And it was the guys that had called the sponsor and kind of told them everything about it. So I was kind of, I just felt really caught up in the middle. I was like, I don't want to wreck this challenge for him, but he's kind of like doing that for himself. But also I didn't really want to be involved anymore because I didn't really have the belief that it was what I thought it was. So yeah,
Yeah.
that, but it did give me the real like taste of America. And we obviously ran through quite a lot of landscapes and we had a few days on the road and it was just like quite an extreme experience. And then
Mm.
around the same time, I was kind of doing my first proper ultra races back in Scotland. So I think that was the first year I did the West Sun Away. And then, yeah, and then we're focusing on California. The other races I've done there. So that same year, managed to, what was it? John Connolly said, you're one time wanker getting into Western
Western
States.
States. Yeah.
I was one of those people, and I was so convinced like I wasn't going to get in that I wasn't even watching the lottery draw. And that I think it was winter, December, around Christmas time, 2012 is when loads of people started messaging me saying, "Have you seen the lottery results?" I was like, "No." So I found out I'd got into Western States for 2013. Um, and yeah, I was absolutely bloody terrified because I'd only ever run the West Tunnel Way once and like maybe two other ultras and that big crazy experience in the States. And um, I just did had no clue what I was in for with that race because yeah, that was that's a whole story in itself. I can talk about that if you like.
Maybe that's a different podcast to have you back for, because that is an episode on
If I
its
can
own.
remember,
Yeah,
it's a long
yeah.
time ago.
So, so you obviously like California, Northern California. You've been doing that, and now most recently you've been doing the California Fall Classic. Do you want to speak a wee bit about that? Set the scene about what's involved, the distance, the elevation, the terrain. Do you want to speak about that?
Yeah, yeah. So actually so after Western States, I wanted to go back and run a couple of other races that I wanted to do in California that I'd heard lots about. So I went back and did the North Face Endurance Challenge 50 miler in San Francisco because I absolutely love that city. And then another one which was close by was the Lake Sonoma 50. So I actually did the Lake Sonoma 50 back in 2019. So I knew, and that's like very similar trails to the Fall Classic. There's just an
Hmm.
extra out and back on the end of the Fall Classic. I think they might have changed the route very slightly elsewhere, but
Okay.
I knew the trails, and it's just another example of um, like the terrible memory that ultra runners have about what they enjoy and what they don't enjoy and what they sign up to again. Because that like Sonoma 50 in 2019, even though I was pretty fit then, was really hard, just really, really relentless. I didn't finish anywhere approaching where I wanted to finish. Um, I think in 2019 I was really burnt out and I'd done a lot of stuff over the last like, I don't know, like 7, 8, 9 years. And I
Yep.
was just really burnt out with everything and I needed a break. So I'd hoped coming back this time, um, I'd hoped that I would have a better experience there. I wanted to have a big challenge. Like it's only been, I don't know, maybe since spring, summer this year that I felt like I can like take on a slightly longer challenge again.
Mhm.
And I really wanted to do one this year. So 100K, like I'm definitely I'm not really fit enough to run 100 miles yet. And I knew that. So I thought 100K is a really nice distance. It's definitely enough to be a big challenge. And why not have a little solo break, a total break from everything out there, which is the first time, since having kids of being away for more than a night. Um, and combine
Can
the
I
two,
jump?
just
Can
have
I
a wee
jump
break.
in? Can I jump in?
Yeah,
Because there's
go.
a thing we need to speak about before we actually do this. And you mentioned having your child after having your children, about your
Mhm.
pelvic floor, about rehab. You mentioned about strength and conditioning. Talk us. through that because the bit the bit before you actually start seriously training, you've got to get fit to get fit. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? To do that. So when you decided, okay, I'm going to do something about this, you spoke about pelvic floor.
Yeah, yeah.
I know nothing, so please explain that to me.
Well, the bigger so pelvic floor was still an issue, but it's definitely with some of the rehab I've been doing, it's got a lot better, more manageable um with training. But the issue I like the reason I really wasn't fit to run 100K in this race was because I kept getting this recurring adductor strain, and that was more of a problem. So I went into this race, like to be honest, even I'd say even 3 weeks out, I didn't know if I was going to be in the start line because I just didn't know if I could do it. And I'm glad I did go because the problems I thought were going to be problems weren't problems. It's always the way, isn't it?
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
had so I actually I did 150K last November. That's the only kind of biggish race I've done, apart from a couple that have been like 20-ish miles. That's the only biggest one I've done since 2019. And that was last November. And um yeah, I strained my adductor in the last mile of that race, like really badly. I was out for about 3, 4 months. I couldn't. I just had so much pain, relentless pain with it. And then I went back to training for the Devil last year, which I had to DNS because I got the same strain again when I was training for that, just after I'd recovered from the one from the Davaway 50, which is the one I did last November. And then yet again, after like a 20-mile run in August this year, it happened again. It wasn't
Wow.
so basically had this injury recur 3 times. Um and I just threw a load of money at it. I just went to massage like every week. I went to physio. I did all the rehab humanly possible, and I took loads of glucosamine. And
Yeah.
I think it did. I think that you never really know what plays into recovery, do you? It's hard to track it back, but I think that did
Yeah.
help. But
And it
pelvic floor is
definitely,
just, yeah, I mean, if it's helpful for women, there's a few links of like pelvic floor therapists that have been helpful to me. There's definitely kind of like programs you can follow for that, just like strength training or something.
yeah. Well, what we can do is we can put your Instagram account in the show notes, and
Hmm.
people can, if they want to, they can message you, they can follow you and get in touch.
Yeah, cool.
Brilliant. Um, the have you got a coach? Are you coached by anybody?
No, I'm not. I haven't been coached for a long time. I used to be coached by a guy, Trails and Tarmac is a company out in Oregon, actually. So back
Okay.
like, I don't know, maybe between 2018, 2019, I was coached by this guy called Ryan Gelfie. He was amazing. But I'm actually looking into getting coached again because I do after the 100K, like I wasn't fit to run that distance, but I'm really psyched to try. And
Yeah.
I really feel the need now that injury, we'll come on to it, but I didn't feel the injury throughout the whole race, which is absolutely incredible given how much I'd been through with it over the last year. So I was absolutely delighted and really inspired to kind of get back into a bit of structure training.
Mhm.
So,
So
and I think I do need to get a coach to do that because I don't have the mental space to think about what I need to do right now with parenting.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Lots of women listening in and going, yeah, that's me too.
Yeah.
So, so talk us through then, before we get to the race itself, talk us through your training block for building up for the fall classic.
Oh, it's just laughable, John. It's just like honestly, I was just injured so much that I did but obviously I was running. I would say actually the most interesting thing about that training block is I only really ran 3 times a week, and that's because I had to keep it in check and I had to try and like recover from this injury. And obviously I
Yeah.
didn't run like when it was really bothering me, I didn't run at all. Um, I wasn't even really cross training that much, to be honest. I was doing lots of hill walking and things like that, but just trying to get as much walking in, as much strength training as I could to try and build, to try and keep a strong kind of body. This is for when I did get back to running. Um, so yeah, I the running side was about 3 times a week. When I did back-to-back weekends, it would be 4 times a week, but I really only did like two main back-to-back weekends. So, and they were not like the optimal distance that I would have done, a few
Mm.
years ago, injury free. You do like maybe a 20 mile and a 20 mile, but I was doing 15 and 15, and then a couple of weeks later I did 15 and 15, and I managed them fine actually. It obviously wasn't optimal for running 62 miles of a really hilly course, but I did that, and I did religious hill reps every week, and like I was saying, a lot of body rehab and massage. I also did like the 20-ish mile races I was talking about. It's called the Great Wilderness Challenge. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's a beautiful
Oh.
race over in the Northwest Highlands around Pooleu area. So I
Mhm.
did that. It says it's a 25-mile race. It's actually about 23. So I did that in August, which also was a really good training run because that was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 thousand feet of ascent over that distance and over some pretty dodgy terrain. So yeah, I did that, but it was so subpar as a training block. Like it was so far from
Mm.
being what I would call ideal. But it shows how much mental strength can get you through, I think.
Yeah. And two other questions. When you're mentioning about doing strength work, do you go to the gym or do you have stuff at home that you use?
No, I just follow a program at home. I just have
Okay.
weights at home, and it's just so much easier. We actually do have a little gym locally, but I live in the sticks in the Black Isle, so our gym like shuts, like it's not open late, and so
Okay.
I've got priorities with them, baby bedtime and things. So yeah, I just
Yeah.
it's so much easier just to do my own stuff at home,
And that's
flexibly.
my other question is two kids, training, how do you balance that?
Yeah, and I also started a new job this year, so it's been like just an onslaught of new stuff and like competing priorities all the time. It's just forever a juggle. And I think in particular having like when we tag team and I have just one of my children to look after, it's just like a different ball game, isn't it? It's like just reminds
Mm.
you how hard it is having two. And I know it's relative and people that have one, it's hard too in its own way. But having two, the age we've had them, they're quite close. There's been quite a lot of conflict between them, in adjusting to having siblings. So that's definitely been a challenge. And um it's getting easier now. I think they're getting older and we're just getting into a groove with it all now. It's getting a lot easier as a mum. But it's definitely a challenge to fit in training, and people say sleep's really important, but you do just have to sacrifice sleep if you want to be
Mm.
a good parent and present for your kids, if you want to do your job, and if you want to have a goal that involves running an ultra. Like I do just have to get up super early at the weekends, and go out and just get it done. There's no procrastination involved. You just have to go
Yeah.
when you have to go. And I do have one day a week where I work away, so I can work in some kind of longer early runs there around work. Also travel quite a lot for work, so I've got a great job where I can travel to different like properties across Scotland. So quite often they're in places that have got like lovely hill runs or nice trails. So
Mm.
that's a bit of a bonus because I can just kind of tag that onto a journey to work. So yeah, you just have to
Mm.
hustle for it, don't you?
You find a way, yeah. You find a way.
Mhm.
So, what lit the spark for the California Fall Classic? Why that race?
Oh, well, I blame it on the people that I was tracking in Western states this year because I then went on. I was already thinking about what goal do I want for this year, and having had the conversation with family and everything, like, okay, I really want to do something, and I am going to take, a few days away. Um, and I saw, obviously having run there before, I saw they had a new race, a new distance. It was just 50 miles before, and I knew the terrain, and I saw it was a Western States qualifier as well. So completely sucked in by that again. Um, I was running the race thinking, I'm not doing Western States again. I'm done with that. um, yeah, but that was really the motivator, I think, was just having like the 100K distance as the best goal for me just now, and then having it be a qualifier is a bit of a bonus, I suppose.
Mm. Standing on the start line, how are you feeling?
Yeah, okay. Like I felt good actually. Actually like I flew out there 2 days before the race started, and obviously it's like an 11, 12-hour journey. You're going to be jet lagged. It's never as bad going out that way, but I didn't feel great. Like the day before the race, certainly 2 days before the race, I felt like a you know, when you feel like you're getting a cold, just didn't, I felt under the weather.
Mm.
I was like, oh man, this is not good. But I think it must have just been jet lag because by the race morning, I'd expected to still feel a bit rough and actually felt okay. And I'd managed to get some really good sleep as well, which must have helped loads. Um, so yeah, I felt pretty good. They had a DJ on the start line, which was amazing, and like loads of good vibes and like chat with other runners. And there's not many international people doing that race, so it was really nice. Like everyone's like, "What? You came from Scotland? What are you doing?"
And
Yeah.
do you have any sort of pre-race rituals that you'll do and maybe the fall before? How do you prepare yourself to be the best you can be on that start line?
I don't really, I don't think I have any rituals so much as I just try and get super organized the day before. I don't want to be doing anything the morning of, especially given it was
Mm.
starting at 5 a.m. and I was staying like 45 minutes away. So, you know, I didn't want to be faffing about with anything the morning of. So just making sure you're kind of obsessively organized with everything, drop bags, everything. But like, I suppose in terms of mental preparation, what I did do the afternoon or the night before was just watch a couple of videos about
Mhm.
like really inspiring women that I follow, like Jasmine Paris. I rewatched her Barkley documentary, and I've just rewatching all these kind of stories of women racing just to kind of like reflect back on in the race and try and channel some of their endurance. So watched you know, Sally McRae. She just
Yeah.
did the series. I can't remember how many, was it three or four, a couple of 200s kind of back to backish. So there was a film about her doing the back to back 200s and um just the state her feet were in, like all the highs and lows she went through. I was just thinking if she can do a 200-mile race like 2 or 3 weeks after another 200-mile race, then I can do 100K. You know, it's kind of like having those stories in your head. I just find really helps when you get into those dark spots.
Mm. And you mentioned drop bags. Is it similar to, for people running in Scotland, is it similar to the Fling or the West Highland Way where you've got your drop bags? So it's not, is it non-supported? You get your drop bags and you pick them up and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there were people, you could have a crew if you wanted it, but I don't think crew could come to that many support, like aid stations,
Mm.
because it's quite a remote trail in places. But there was a couple, I definitely saw quite a lot of families and things that were crewing for runners. But yeah, it was pretty similar to, in some ways, similar to a race like the Fling, where you just can do it on your own without any support and give a drop bag in.
Okay.
And it's basically an out and back course, apart from this little loop that's added on at the end. So it's you run through a lot of the same aid stations on the way back as you've gone through on the way out. So they just
Okay.
keep your drop bags, which is quite handy as well. But also it's, you know, like American races are their aid stations are just like insanely well stocked with all sorts of things. So it's you always feel like you're going to have a wide variety of things to choose from.
And is it hilly?
It's yeah, it's pretty hilly. I think it's I remember thinking it's around the same elevation as the West Highland Way over 100K, so it's like 14,000 something.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so it's pretty hilly. It felt more than that, to be honest, because
Yeah.
the course is just they describe themselves as relentless, and it is like they're not lying. Every single mile is up and down. Like there's no flat section in that course. It's just up and down, up and down, up and down. And it just, like, after 15 miles or something, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is going to be really tough. And I don't know
Did
how I
you
forgot how hard this course is.
did you use poles this
You're not
time?
allowed to.
Oh, you're not. Okay.
No. I probably would
Right.
have done if I could, but no, you're not allowed
Okay.
to.
A couple of big questions that we always ask people about things. What shoes were you wearing?
Ugh. Do you know, I'm so not a shoe person. I'm gonna forget. I think they were Scott Super Tracks or Scott something.
Yeah.
But they weren't like I usually wear Brooks and I was really regretting. I usually do something like Brooks Cascadia, or I've gone through a phase of doing the Pure Grip when I had less cushioning. Um, there's another one I'm blacking the name of, another newer Brooks. model. But yeah, the Scot did not work well for me, and I
Yeah,
had trained in them,
because
but not for like a super long time, of quite a few months, and obviously not for the distance. So I
uh,
think it was a totally rookie mistake. I should know better because obviously know this and have trialed and errored a lot of things over the years, but I know that your feet
mm,
swell so much. And also, we were running through quite a lot of creeks, so
yep,
it was quite hot in the middle of the day. So, like, I was literally getting into the creeks at times, and I think just a combination of having really hot feet that were swelling and going over some quite rocky trails. And then wet feet as well, and maybe not having quite as wide a toe box as I used to, um,
yeah.
was not great. I had
Because
loads of blisters by the end.
I've got the Scott Super Track. I'm sorry, Stephen's the shoe guy, right?
Is
Stephen's
he?
the shoe guy. So, but I've got the Scott Super Track RC2s, are the version that I have. But I find they're quite minimal, and there's not a lot of padding, not a lot of cushioning on them. And for
Hmm.
long distances, they can. You mentioned blisters.
Hmm.
That can be a result of that. So,
Yeah.
um, and the other question where I'm more comfortable talking about is food.
Hmm.
How did you fuel yourself, Caroline?
Oh, fuel. So fuel was pretty good overall. I'm really lucky. Like I never really suffer. I should be touching wood, but I never really suffer with stomach issues. Apart from that
Uh-huh.
one UTMB, but I think that's because I've been waiting in the start line in like super hot day, and I just think I was just too hot starting the race. But yeah, I've got a pretty strong stomach, and I always, usually without fail, manage to keep eating kind of quite late on into a race. So I know what works for me in terms of gels, but I also wanted to hang off, like hold off with the gels for, the first third of the race. And then I
Mhm.
would move on to them because I know the gels that work for me. I usually use torque gels.
Uh-huh.
I have more recently started using precision hydration. I also love the oh my goodness, Huma gels, the little chia ones. Have you tried those?
No, never had them.
Oh,
Oh,
they're so good. They've got chia in them. I mean, it's not for everyone because they're kind of bitty, but um the flavor's really nice and I find them really easy to get down in terms of like consistency. Like yeah, just the consistency of them. So I had that I took all that out with me. And also was pretty religious about the electrolytes and started off trying to get solids down. Like they have little salted potatoes and things like that on the aid stations. Um, I don't love eating them, but I can get them down. Um, a few bars here and there. And what else did I have? I had salt tabs, like little chewable salt
yeah.
tabs, which I thought I could kind of have in between the electrolytes. But one screw up I did make was I didn't realize that the electrolyte I was refilling with on the aid stations was all caffeinated. They did have a non-caff version, but I just didn't realize I was having the caff version, and so that was not great. It just didn't agree with me. And I realized and just stopped having it, and then I think things got a bit better.
Right,
But
okay.
that's not if you've already got pelvic floor issues, that's not you don't want to be having a lot of caffeine.
Okay.
And I basically needed to go for a pee like every mile, and I'm not exaggerating. I was in the bushes like every mile. I just needed to pee all the time. And I was like, oh, my goodness, this is like so much stoppage time. It's unreal.
Yeah, yeah.
But you just got to go, and that's a big impact on women coming back after babies. Like, obviously, not all women get that, but it's like really adding to my race time at the moment.
Right, okay.
Um,
Um,
but yeah, but other than that, like the food, it all went really well. I did have a couple of hours in the middle of the day when it was really hot where I started feeling a bit nauseous, but I'm never sick. Um, and I didn't feel like I was going to be sick. I could feel and I kind of switched just to liquids, managed to get the odd gel down, but it did go away as soon as, because it was autumn. Like if you're running a race out there, like Western States in the summer, I remember in Western States really expecting as soon as the sun went down, I was so excited about it getting cooler and it just never really cooled down. It like stayed in the 30s. It was like so hot. Even with the sun down, like in the midsummer, it's just really, really hot.
mm.
And it wasn't like that in the fall. Like as soon as the sun went down, it was like, oh, it's cool again. It's amazing.
So
So that was the real benefit.
what was causing the nausea? Was it the heat? Is that
I
part?
think it was, yeah, I think it was the heat. I think it was just my body being a bit like, what are you doing? We haven't done this in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a
Um,
while. Yeah, so here we are.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
you get past the like the longest distance you run in training, which was like 23 miles, and you're like, yeah, your
mm,
body's a bit like, whoa, and then it adapts again. So yeah, yeah.
toughest part of the race.
Toughest part of the race. I've got to say, like probably I do love running in the dark, and I was having a great time running in the dark when I was running with other people. I was in kind of a chain of people here and there. Um, but when I was getting really tired towards the end, like I would say the last 5 miles or something, I ended up running completely on my own after leaving an aid station. And it wasn't that I was like scared of running on my own, but I couldn't get this. There was a poster of I'd gone for the day, a couple of days before the race, I'd gone for a walk in a redwood forest nearby, and there was a poster saying mountain lions spotted in the area. This is what to do if you see a mountain lion. Don't run. Don't, what was it? Don't bend down. Just make lots of noise and stand your ground and make yourself really tall. And I was like, what? Fucking hell, if I see a mountain lion, like I kept thinking I was seeing two eyes in the woods. And I was I couldn't get it in
Mm.
my head. It was almost like a hallucination. Um I kept thinking, well, if they're just a few miles away in that redwood forest, they might be here too, and I'm running. So if they see me running, they'll be chasing me. So I just couldn't get that in my head. It was quite funny looking back. But
Yeah. Funny looking back, but not at the time.
no, that's
I'm a bit
right.
scared of the dark. I tell you. The so mentally, do you train on the mental side of things? Because it's going to be there's going to be peaks and troughs, highs and lows. How do you deal with the tough mental stuff?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? I don't think I do like any structured training for that. I would be really interested to try some.
Mhm.
What I do now is, especially after having such a long break, is I just try and remind myself of what I've done in the past and what other women have done and the people that I really feel, you know, inspired by. And I try and kind of channel, their strength, I suppose, when I'm in the dark spots of a race. Um, and I do tell myself, I think this is quite a common thing, but I do also always say to myself in ultras, like, the mind wants to give up before the body needs to give up. Because I think
Mhm.
you always think your body can't take it anymore, but actually that's your mind telling you that, not your body. And, you can just get through so much more than you think you can. So
Just
I always try and tell
having that
myself,
awareness is amazing, isn't it?
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Can can I ask you a very personal question?
mm-hmm.
Um, we spoke about your mum, we spoke about your kids. Does that come into your thoughts when you're running ultras?
100%. Yeah. Like, yep, think about them all. And especially with this one, it was really nice because, I've had, I think, 2 or 3 DNFs in my time. And I don't want to, like, I'm not scared to DNF if I'm injured and can't run. Like I was saying,
Mhm.
the only way I want to DNF this race, if I have to, is if I literally can't walk. But I didn't want to have another DNF. I had one in the States at the Georgia Death Race and 100K there, and you just can't really get it out of your head, and you're really hard on
Mhm.
yourself with experiences like that, and obviously the UTMB as well. And so I was just telling myself that I want this time away from the kids to be worthwhile, and I was getting to the point where I was like internally like in my mind chanting their names, like be strong. I won't
Mhm.
say their names on the podcast, but like I was chanting their names, and um yeah, it's just really thinking about them and thinking about, oh, how cool it'll be for me to tell them about this when they're a bit older and can understand. And I always think about
Mhm.
my mum in races, like every race, so that's just a given. But yeah, they were definitely in my thoughts.
It's a hell of a motivator, though, isn't it?
Hmm. Yeah,
You know,
definitely, it's
yeah,
powerful.
yeah, yeah. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. So tell us then about the finish. You finished 16th female. That's a brilliant return, is it not?
Yeah, yeah, I had to, like I was really trying not to have any expectations, like I did have like I think best case scenario, if I'd been doing this race before kids, I think I probably would have had a faster time if I wasn't stopping in the bushes every mile. But obviously the fitness played into it as well. Like I wasn't really fit to run that distance, and I just was really pushing and pushing and pushing my body. But I was really proud to finish where I did, and I ended up, kind of halfway through the race. I was making calculations, and I thought, you know what, sub 16 hours would be amazing. I'd be super happy with
Mm.
that, and managed to just pip under 16 with 15:48. So yeah, really, really happy with that. Just happy to finish. I tried just to have that one expectation in my mind. I just want to finish this race.
Yeah.
And I don't want to injure myself doing it in the last mile like I did in the 50K.
Yeah. But you're saying you just pipped under 16 hours. 15:48 is smashing the hell out of 16 hours, Caroline. That's a brilliant time. Absolutely brilliant. So congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you.
How does it feel to be back?
Yeah, it feels amazing. I tell you, just like just the lift I get from having a big goal for myself to balance out like what is amazing and what is really hard parenting sometimes is just like it just feels like some of myself has been a bit more like restored, I suppose.
Hmm.
And I've just got a little piece of myself back. And I think that's healthy. It's a healthy way to be a parent as well and model to your kids that it's really, really important to have your own goals, and to be there for the people you love, but also just to be brave with what you take on. And I've now my problem is keeping it in check because I'd race every month if I could. But I know I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
do that now.
Huh?
I have to balance it. So
Yeah, yeah. That period of time where you could race every month, that's probably gone now.
totally.
Other priorities have taken over.
Yeah.
But on that, what would you say? What is your preferred distance? Are you still figuring that out?
No, do you know, st- I think you get different things from different distances, don't you? I think
Yeah.
I love the Devil. It's one of my favorite races. I just love the Highland part of that trail. And I think that 43 mile distance is really nice to kind of, you've got an ultra distance, which is a real challenge, but also you can really push.
Mm,
And I've just had such positive experiences with that race. So I always think of that as like such a nice distance to race. And it's not really a distance you get that much, like certainly not in other countries. It's usually like 50 mile, 100K. Um, so I really like that. But also, yeah, there's obviously value in taking on a big chunky goal as well. I do want to do another 100 miler. Um, there's lots of races I want to do, but I do want to go. Well, I have registered for the Devil next year, so I do want to go back there.
mm.
Just hoping I can get there injury free next year.
Right, that's exciting. Very exciting to hear. Thank you for that, saying that. And you've also mentioned you've now got a Western States qualifier. Are you tempted? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the ballot, but I'm like one ticket in 81,000, so
Hey, it happened before. It happened before.
I know I'd be a complete wanker if I got in two times with one ticket.
Ah, brilliant.
Yeah, we'll
Brilliant.
see. We'll see. I'm also in the ballot for the West on the Way race, so we'll see. Obviously, those two races will fit together, Devil and the
Mm.
West on the Way. I don't know if I could take the time away from family to do the Triple Crown, but who knows? We'll see.
Oh, it's a big
See,
dream.
I'm going
Dream
to take
big.
it one by one.
Yeah, always dream big. Always dream
Yeah.
big. This might be a tough one as well. What's your proudest achievement running?
Oh, it's a difficult one. Um, that is a tricky one because I feel like it's always like the answer is always going to be the most recent race because it's so fresh.
Mm.
But I feel like, yeah, it probably would be the 100K just because even though I've run longer distances and the UTMB was up there with kind of the hardest challenges that I've done, I think coming back after all the physical struggles I've had and just finding the time to put any training in to run 100K
Yeah.
has been such a yeah, just such a hustle. It's I feel really proud of being able to go out there and do that. So
Brilliant.
it's kind of made my year.
And you're a different Caroline McKay now, aren't you? You're a different,
Totally.
so brilliant.
Yeah. Think of all the time, like pre-kids, all the freedom I had and the travels I had. And honestly, I just look back and I'm really lucky to have had two healthy kids. And I feel like it was such a privileged life to lead. But that was my time of doing that. And it will come back. But this is a different season of life. So I have to
Yeah.
balance it with, yeah, one or two big kind of chunky goals a year. But they're still pretty young, so I do still have to think pretty strategically about how I balance things.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. We spoke about shoes earlier, but what is your favourite bit of kit, your favourite bit of gear, the thing that you think, this is going with me everywhere I go?
Hmm. It's probably a very boring answer because I'm not like I try not to buy too much kit. I think there is a bit of a like there's probably an impact to all sports, isn't there, in terms of like I've always, well, for most of my career worked for environmental or nature charities, so just very aware of the environmental impact of things. And I do think there's a lot of marketing out there. And if you're on social media, there's a lot of ads these days and they make you want to buy everything. And I don't think that's a healthy thing for for the planet or the
Yeah.
community. I think like if we can reuse things, that's great. I think we should do that. And so, like, one of my favorite pieces of kit, like longevity wise, is actually a free top I got in the Western States 2013 swag, which is a long sleeved, I think it's a Brooks top. It's long sleeved and is still like amazing quality. And I wear it pretty much every week. And I've worn it for
Mm.
12 years. And it's like, God, if every top was made like that, it's just so much better for the planet. So,
Mhm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I used to used to study fashion, and I was big into shopping when I was big into everything else in Manchester. And I try not to live too much like that these days. But yeah, if we're going by like go-to kit, it would be the Salomon pack for sure. That's my
Okay,
go-to pack for all ultras. It's just there's nothing else that matches it, I don't think.
brilliant.
The
Mm.
Sense, I think it's called the Salomon Sense pack.
Okay,
You know the one
brilliant.
we
Very popular. Yeah.
yeah.
When you mentioned Brooks in Western States in 2013, I've just got Scott Jurek flying through my brain.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant era. It's a good era now, but that was a brilliant era too.
Yeah.
Um, all the time that you spent on the trails and in this new season, which I love the term, the season, in this new season, away from training and away from running, what's your favorite way to relax?
Oh, I'm not very good at relaxing. I'm just not very good at sitting still. I do think I'm totally undiagnosed ADHD. I do love, I'm a very creative soul, so I do love writing. When I have any energy left, I do some creative writing. Um, and when I had my podcast, that was a massive creative outlet for me. And I got to talk to amazing people like who'd been through some big times in life and big adventures, big challenges. So that kind of thing. I love creating things. Um, but if I'm honest, if I'm trying to force myself to relax, it's probably just doing strength training in front of Netflix now. So it's not really
Okay,
relaxing, is it?
okay, that's okay. It
But
serves it's
yeah, I mean,
multi-purpose.
I go out like I see lots of friends and we walking with the kids, and it's mainly stuff with the kids if they're around. I'll be doing something outdoors with them that's kind of obviously a bit more lower key than training.
Yeah, cool. Outdoors is the key, isn't it? Getting outside in
Yeah,
nature, most definitely.
100%.
Okay, um, we're getting towards the end, and we've got two questions that we ask everybody. We always ask for a local dialect word. You've said that you're well travelled, you've moved around. So it might be a local dialect word from the Isle of Mull. It could be from wherever you've found yourself. What word or phrase would you like to enter into the Young Hearts Run Free dialect dictionary, Caroline?
Yeah, this is a struggle for me because so obviously I grew up in Mull, but my mum was English, my dad was from Stirlingshire, so we didn't really like I was a bit immersed in like the tutor chat at high school, but I don't know if there's any words that haven't already got into your dictionary that
Go for it.
um
We love a
but
chieftain
yeah, I
word.
don't know. So Mullich is obviously like Mullich is someone that's from Mull. Um it's also quite a funny word in high school. People used to call each other like you'd be a fandan if you were a bit pretentious. Have you had that one?
Fandan. Stephen uses Fandan. He
Does
uses,
he?
but I don't think it's been I don't think it's in the dialect dictionary.
Get it in.
I don't think a guest has said. I think Stephen talks about a Fandan. Brilliant.
Uh-huh.
We'll go with that. So thank you. We'll put both in. Mulek and a Fandan.
I
You
don't
can
really
be a
know like what the proper meaning. Yeah, like Stephen can tell us.
maybe your discussion was better. Somebody's a bit pretentious. Steve might come in with a sweary, but we can ask him that. Well, you could be a Mulek fan, Dan, couldn't you?
Yeah, there you
You
go.
could be. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And finally, musical question. We have, I can't remember what playlist it is. I think it's maybe playlist number 10, I
Hmm.
think, of tracks and songs that we ask our guests to add a track or a song for the Young Arts Rumphy listeners to play as they're out there running. If they're not listening to a podcast, they've got a playlist to listen to. What song or track would you like to add in, Caroline?
So I've got so many because I love my music. And I've always been from like early teens on Mull, always been into electronica
Mhm.
and dance music. Which is quite funny because none of my friends are, and there's a lot of people that just hate dance music, but it's always been what I've run to in races, and I find it a huge boost in races. So I'm going to go with quite a hardcore dance track. It's Blaze by Book of Shade, and I think you pronounce it Jan Blomqvist. Can you can you write that one down?
I mean, say that again. What was it?
Let's just go with Blaze by Book of Shade.
Okay, I will
I can
find
send.
it.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please do that. Please do that because I've never heard of that before.
Mhm.
But people listen to all sorts of different things. And if you let anybody listen back to the Young Hearts Run Free, any version of any playlist, it is a eclectic mix of music that's in there. So that will be a most welcome addition. So thank you very much.
Mhm.
I've loved, I've listened to your podcast. I mentioned that before. I've loved listening to your voice all the way through this. It's just like listening to a friend. Honestly, it has been because I
Oh,
listened to the
that's nice.
podcast so much. I actually think a couple of times I sent a message to Mountains and Minds at times to say thank you very much for doing that. So I really did enjoy it and I miss it as well. So it
Oh,
was
I
really good,
know. Like
you
one
know?
day I would love to do it again, but there's so many, like the podcast world has moved on so much and there's just so many amazing podcasts. I feel like there's enough out there now, but yeah, I
Mm.
just it was weird. Yeah, I definitely recognized your name when I dug into your podcast for the first time, so it must be from that.
Mm.
But thank you for listening to mine because
Mm.
yeah, it
Well,
was really it was a lot of work, but it was really fun to do, and I think you guys are amazing with what you do as well. I think you're
thank
like
you.
you've got such a good chemistry, you and Stephen, and such good banter, and you're just naturals at it. So well done for what you're doing.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say one last thing about your podcast. You're saying that the podcast world has changed, but I don't think I've heard a podcast like Of Mountains and Minds that appealed to me so much. So it was
Mm,
quite unique. So thank you very
mm,
much for putting it out there.
yeah, thank
Maybe
you.
bring it back. Maybe bring it back sometime, but no pressure. No
No, I
pressure.
know, I would love to. Yeah, when the
Mm.
kids are in school, maybe.
Yeah, Caroline, I have loved this chat. I've loved your openness, your honesty about your the background that where you got into running. I love the way that you spoke about your mum and your kids and that inspiration side of stuff. But most of all, I've loved the way you described your race at the Fall Classic, and that I can sense the joy of you being back. I love it.
Hmm.
I absolutely love it. And I think as well, I think I've said a number of times as we've been chatting that there'll be so many people listening into this, especially females, who have been or are at a similar place in the journey that you've been at. So I love that people can be running along, probably on a long weekend run, and they're going, I get this. That this really resonates to me. So thank you so much for sharing your story. I've really
Hmm.
appreciated it, and I've loved chatting. It's been about an hour and a half, and
I
it feels
know.
like it feels like 15 minutes. It's
That's a
brilliant.
long
So
one. I feel like
thank you
there was
so
some
much.
waffle in there. Thanks, John. Thank you.
Okay, and can I just say we'll leave the door open for a return chat at some point in the future?
100%. Yeah, I'd
Right.
love to.
So for those listening on the audio version, here comes Caroline's dance tune.